Retirement should be the payoff after decades of work. But what if one mistake, one that you didn't even realize you were making, could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars? I've seen it time and time again working with Canadians nearing retirement. And in this video, I'm going to walk through the 7 mistakes that I see all the time and how you can avoid them. Hey guys, this is Retirement Planning Simplified. I am Joe Curry and I specialize in helping Canadians retire. Okay, so let's dive into the 7 mistakes I see most often. Mistake number 1 is misunderstanding when to take CPP and OAS. So many Canadians start their CPP because they're 60 and they can, but not because it makes sense or not because it's part of a larger plan. Canada Pension Plan will pay you 8.4% per year more every year you delay past age 65, right? And there's a penalty for taking it before age 65. This is guaranteed inflation adjusted income. So everybody talks about how they wish they had a defined benefit pension plan. And that is what this is. So we want to make sure we're maximizing that, or at least thinking about how it fits into your retirement plan. From a 2023 Financial Planning Canada study with the National Institute of Aging, the study found that a typical woman taking CPP at age 60 versus 70 loses about $115,000 of lifetime income in today's dollars. Now, if you're lucky enough to make it to the 75th percentile lifespan, that cost could be somewhere around $295,000 of lifetime income. And if you're a male, the typical male, so that's living to the 50th percentile, you're losing about $90,000 of lifetime income. And if you're lucky enough, again, to get to that 75th percentile, you're potentially leaving $222,000 in today's dollars of retirement income on the table. So that's a big deal. And it's at least something we want to take serious about the timing and where it fits into your plan. Remember, this is guaranteed income for life. These aren't hypothetical returns that you get by delaying. We know that the numbers are there, they're real, and they're guaranteed. And once you've started, you can't stop. So we want to make sure, again, we're making an educated decision around CPP and old age security. There's more to it, though, than just delaying CPP and getting a larger benefit. When you have significant assets built up in your RSP, that could be a ticking tax time bomb for you. And so while it won't solve everything, delaying government pensions will keep your income lower through your 60s. And that's going to give you some more flexibility around the timing of your retirement account withdrawals, which could potentially provide you with an opportunity to lower your lifetime taxes, pass on more to your beneficiaries, and depending on your situation, maybe even allow you to avoid the old age security clawback. So the bottom line here, CPP timing should be part of a coordinated income plan for your retirement. That transitions nicely into mistake number 2, not including tax planning as part of your retirement strategy. So, one thing about taxes is most of you by now, if you're watching this, you probably know that if you leave a bunch of money in your RSP when you pass away, potentially up to half of that's going to CRA instead of your family. So for high income earners, RSPs are still one of the best places to save for retirement while working because there are some significant tax benefits there. So the mistake isn't using RSPs, it's failing to plan on how to unwind those RSPs once you get to retirement. So as your income is declining because maybe you go to a part-time transition before retirement, or maybe just go right into retirement and you're in your 60s, maybe even into your late 50s, if you're retiring early, you want to look for opportunities for how you can melt down those RSPs in a way that you're not totally giving up the tax deferred growth that comes with having money in your RSPs, but you're also thinking about the tax flexibility that comes by getting more money into tax-free savings accounts and non-registered accounts, right? So thinking about what we would call strategic withdrawals from your RSPs to top up tax-free savings accounts or maybe non-registered accounts if you've already done the TFSAs. This is also going to be key to help you have lower RIF minimums later on in life, later on in retirement, which could help you, again, lower your lifetime tax bill, could help you avoid old age security clawback, right? And I've talked about this a little bit already, but it provides flexibility for spending in retirement. So think, what happens when you need a new car? What happens if you need to replace the shingles on your roof? Taking lump sums out of your RSP, if you have no other choice, that's gonna, you're gonna be paying a lot of money in tax rather than just getting the money from a tax-free savings account and spending all of it on the project. right? So creating flexibility is going to go a long way to limiting your taxes paid throughout your retirement. So bottom line, there's a lot of different things to think about when it comes to tax planning and retirement, but it needs to be part of your retirement income strategy, your overall retirement plan. So just a note before I get to mistake number 3, keep watching this video, because after mistake number 3, I'm actually going to go to a sample in the financial planning software just to show you how some of these things we're talking about can have a significant difference or make a significant difference in your retirement outcomes. And by not applying the proper strategies, it could literally be costing you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars throughout your retirement. Okay, mistake number 3 is believing that a lump sum number is enough. So for example, you just have an idea of the number you need to get to is $1 million, or I need to have $2 million and I can retire. So 2 retirees with the same savings can have very different outcomes, right? So what's going to matter is, what are your goals? What are your specific circumstances? What other sources of income do you have aside from CPP and OAS? Do you also have a defined benefit pension that's going to provide some guaranteed income? Because that's going to affect how much you actually need to have saved in retirement investments to create income, right? Also, what's your retirement income style and how are you invested? Because the way that you're invested is going to change what you can expect from income out of your portfolio. So we really want to focus on how you're invested and what that's going to create for income for you. But also we need to take into account things like taxes. If all your money is in an RSP versus having money in tax-free savings accounts and non-registered accounts, that's also going to impact how far your portfolio is going to take you for retirement income. And so now what I want to do is I actually want to jump into an example here. We'll jump into our financial planning software, and we're going to look at a sample couple to bring some perspective on how having one total amount saved in retirement assets can have completely different outcomes depending on, what accounts is that money in, and what are we doing with our CPP, and beyond that, how are we optimizing the withdrawals that we're taking from our retirement portfolio. Okay, so our sample couple or clients here is Ellen and Clark Griswold, and we can see now is that they are going to run out of money, and their need for retirement was $7,500 a month. Now, we're keeping this pretty simple, just assuming the need stays the same all the way through retirement. And again, to start, all of their money is invested in RSPs, and they're taking their CPP right at retirement, age 61, and they're taking their OAS right at age 65. So at first glance, when we think about this, $1.5 million saved up, sounds pretty good. They've done pretty well for themselves. They're going to get a pretty good size paycheck from CPP. So overall, things seem pretty good. But in this scenario, based on what they need, there is going to be a shortfall. They're going to run out of money at a certain point into the future. So really, even though their monthly need or goal is $7,500 a month of spending after tax, their monthly ability is a little over $1,000 short. So the other thing I want to point out is if we go all the way across here, we can see that their net estate is actually negative. So they're also not leaving anything to their kids. And we're just assuming a balanced portfolio. These rates of return have not gone through a Monte Carlo or stress test or anything like that. Again, everything's just straight projection here, just to give you guys an idea of the impact of making some changes to strategy. So if I flip over in this scenario, a few things have happened. One is we have some tax buckets. Rather than everything being an RSP, we have $250,000 of the $1.5 million is in tax-free savings accounts. Another $250,000 is in non-registered accounts. Okay, and beyond that, we've done a few additional pieces when it comes to strategy. We've delayed CPP to age 70 for both of them. We have also optimized the withdrawals. So because now we're delaying CPP to 70, it allows us to be getting some additional money out of RSPs earlier on in retirement. And we're able to manage the tax bracket that we want to be in throughout retirement to maximize those dollars coming into Clark and Ellen's bank account. So without going into too much detail here, just to take a look at this, our monthly need was 7,500. Now the exact same amount of assets, but our monthly ability has actually changed to 7,500. So now we're able to meet our goals. And so not only do we meet the goals here as far as how much they want to spend each month, if we go back to that estate number, they're leaving $1.4 million in assets after tax to the next generation. This is the exact same amount of money that they started with in both scenarios. It's just a matter of where that money was allocated and also just some small tweaks to the plan, right? And this is just a small sample of things you can do with retirement planning, but very important to make sure we're thinking about all of this in a retirement plan. The other thing that I will mention here is obviously we can't just take $250,000 of your RSP and put it into a tax-free savings account. This takes some planning ahead, and it also takes some planning once we get into retirement. This is where I was talking about strategic withdrawals, things like that. So I'm going to continue on into our other mistakes, but I thought I would just bring together a few of those mistakes just to show you the impact of not properly planning or missing out on some of these things. And it might just be not that you're not being intentional, but maybe you just didn't know that these are mistakes that you could be making if you're not doing proper planning. And the last thing I just want to point out about that scenario I just showed you is if we're assuming that this client was able to get an extra $1,000 a month of spending until age 100, that's 39 years. So that's almost $500,000 that they were able to add to their retirement income in this scenario. That doesn't account for inflation. So if we were to bring inflation forward, we're talking about over $1 million lost by not doing proper planning or thinking ahead, right? So these are very significant, very impactful strategies and mistakes that we're talking about. All right, mistake number 4, ignoring inflation and sequence of return risks. These are kind of two things. I'm going to put them together. At the end of the day, inflation, which we have seen a lot of since 2022, but inflation will erode your purchasing power. In other words, you're unable to continue to buy the same amount of goods with $1 tomorrow as you can today, because everything costs more tomorrow. Additionally, I just showed you a sample where everything went smooth and we had a steady rate of return all through retirement. But the reality is that's not how markets work. Markets go up and they go down. Or you could buy something like GICs where you know exactly what your return is going to be, but it's going to be a lot lower. It's probably not going to help you meet your retirement goals. So we need to think about how are you managing sequence of return risk, which really comes to having a flexible withdrawal strategy. So for us, we like dynamic withdrawal strategies. Specifically, guardrails is our favorite for anyone who is in a buckets or total return strategy, which, not to confuse things, but we're thinking more like traditional investment planning for retirement. Okay. Now, when it comes to inflation, we also need to remember we can't be too conservative. We need to think about the fact that the cost of living over your retirement could go up 2 or 3 times. So in other words, if you need $100,000 today, by the end of retirement, you might need $250,000, $300,000 just to buy the same amount of goods and experiences. So that's significant. And if we're putting all of our money in investments that we're not getting growth on because we're so worried about income today, then we're probably going to miss out on meeting our retirement goals. So we need to think about how do we invest, but not just how do we invest, how do we adjust the amount we're taking from our portfolio when things are going really well or when things are not going really well. And that's where guardrails or dynamic withdrawal strategies come in. And we've done a lot of videos and different podcasts on guardrails and different withdrawal strategies if you're interested in learning more about that. And this is a good kind of segue into mistake number 5, which is not aligning your investment plan with your retirement income style. So there is no one size fits all portfolio for retirement. That's just not the way it works. And it really comes down to understanding what your retirement income style is. Okay. So are you more an income protection person? So someone who knows they just can't really handle the ups and downs of the market and they want something that's locked in and guaranteed? Or do you understand investing? You understand how markets work and you're comfortable going through the ups and downs that come with owning stocks, for example. So your comfort level, your style is going to play a big part in how you actually invest in retirement, because what's most important isn't the perfect strategy, but it's a strategy that you can stick with. Okay. So other considerations when it comes to your investing is, what other guaranteed income streams do you have? So, what is your CPP going to look like in retirement? Do you have a defined benefit pension plan? Because if you have $50,000 of guaranteed income coming in every single year, you might change how you invest your money as opposed to if you had no guaranteed income coming in, right? You might be willing to take a little more fluctuation in your income if you know that your necessities are met by some kind of guaranteed income, like a defined benefit pension plan on top of your government pensions. Okay. We also need to think about your goals. Like, how much risk do you need to take to meet your goals? Okay. So there is a lot of different factors when it comes to thinking about your retirement portfolio. But what I can tell you is it's going to look different than the portfolio you have before you get to retirement. And you really need to consider what is your retirement income style before you just put in a cookie cutter portfolio to fund the rest of your retirement. Okay, and again, another nice segue into mistake number 6 is thinking that investment planning is retirement planning. Now, when you consider the first 5 mistakes we talked about, this one might feel obvious, right? But it's still one of the most common things that we see. So a portfolio or an investment strategy is not a retirement plan. Okay. Now, if you were thinking that that is the retirement plan, it's not your fault. It's what our industry has taught you to think. Maybe even your own advisor has taught you to think that the investment portfolio is the retirement plan, but that is not the case. A real retirement plan is going to weave together several critical areas, some of which we talked about. And these include your tax strategy, so optimizing from a tax standpoint, because minimizing your taxes over your lifetime is going to make a big impact on how much you can spend throughout your retirement and also what you're going to leave to the next generation. You need to have a withdrawal strategy. So determining when and how much you can take from the different accounts that you have, RRSPs, the TFSAs, RIFs, LIRAs, all those different accounts. The timing of your government benefits. So optimizing when you take your CPP, when you take your old age security. That's going to be really important, again, to maximizing your income in retirement. Thinking about your estate and legacy goals. So ensuring that your values and your wealth are passed on intentionally and ideally with as little tax as possible. Insurance or contingency planning, so making sure you're protecting your retirement income against unexpected circumstances. And yes, your investment plan, it is still an important part of the plan, but it's just one part of the plan, right? So aligning your portfolio with your income needs, your risk, your retirement income style, all very important piece of the retirement plan for sure. So to top it off, your retirement plan, not only is it not just an investment plan, but it's also not a one-time event. Okay. So it's dynamic. It's an evolving process that needs to adapt to your life and the world around you as it changes. Okay. So it is an ongoing process, not a one-time event. So at my firm, Matthews and Associates, we guide clients through this using the True Wealth Roadmap. It's our ongoing planning framework that ensures every area of your retirement, financial and personal, is working in harmony. And it's how we help you or our clients stay on track to make smart adjustments and ultimately to live the retirement that you envision, right? So clarity, confidence, purpose, fulfillment, all of that is really what the goal is at the end of the day for retirement. So that last piece there, bringing me to mistake number 7, which is not planning for life after work. Okay. So financial success alone doesn't ensure a fulfilling retirement. And that's really important. The financial planning piece is obviously really important. You need the math to work, but without purpose in retirement, without routine, structure, a lot of people really struggle. And that's not the goal, right? So true wealth isn't about just having a boatload of money. It's about having some purpose, fulfillment, freedom, that you've been working so hard to get. And you want to make sure you're intentional about planning for that when it comes to your retirement planning and not just the numbers, right? So think hobbies, part-time work, community, family, volunteering. How do you fit this into your retirement plan to make sure you're making the most of your retirement? If you're within 5 years of retirement, these are issues that you need to tackle now, and you can avoid these mistakes by doing proper planning today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. If you want more Canadian retirement strategies and education, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you want to learn more about the True Wealth Roadmap and how we help people like you fit all the pieces together, look for the link in the description to our MatthewsandAssociates.ca website. Take care.